be a little bit out of the realm of possibility here. You did have a higher open in gold, never reached the close, made a 37.40 low and took off. So let's just keep an eye on the Momo. I'd say this. Instead of trying to sell top of here, I like to see it hold 1257.90. That was a high back on the 26th. We are trading below that, so perhaps we'll get the news here in a little bit.
I'm not exactly seeing anything, but crude is also real volatile right here.
Yeah, crude's taken off here too. We're actually up $1.25 right now on crude. So after a pretty decent consolidation period, just for the last few days after a run-up, we are starting to break out here again. Those old technicians, they always look at the initial run-up, say we ran up about $4 from last week, had a couple days of consolidation. You're looking at a continuation of that trend. That would put us up over the $100 area. I think we can hit that, Joel?
Well, I do. I was looking at this last night, and I was thinking, hey, if we could break above the $98 level, you had three tops there, and then you just busted through it here, 98.57. Your last trade in the crude market, 98.74 high. We'll have to go take a look at the chart. I don't think we can get to 100. I wonder if there's something going on in the Middle East or something, for gold to spike like that and for crude to rally. I don't know. We'll get the news in a little bit, I'm sure. I'm not seeing any major resistance here until you get to your October 29th high of 99.22. You did have a high at 98.47 on the 30th of October. We have exceeded that level by a few cents, trading up to 98.74. But key to hold this 98.47 level to continue this push up into the 99 handle.
Did have a couple of earnings here to talk about. This morning, Toll just reported, Toll Brothers, actually it's trading up pretty significantly here, 54 cents versus 43 cents. So they beat on the top or bottom line, and nicely on the bottom line, and they beat on the top line as well, 1.04 billion versus 1 billion on the money. So be on the top, be on the bottom. Stock is trading up $1.20 here in the pre-market, 34.80. I'm looking at the technicals on this one, Joel. At $35, it kind of jumps out like a sore thumb. But we've seen in the past some of these companies open into resistance there and then take it out. You think this resistance going to hold up?
35.10 is what we hit in the pre-market. Looking at that $35 area, we did hit that on two occasions here, 35.09 and 35 and a quarter. So up $1.27, not a ton of volume. Not saying that it's a great shorting opportunity into this $35 level, but if you've been remiss in not selling at 35 before as your exit point, be keeping an eye on that level.
Actually, I missed Joe's question. He was asking about Broadcom. He says, what's up with Broadcom? Brent, you got that guidance report? Because I think Broadcom raised guidance last night, did they not?
It was this morning, if I'm correct. Let me pull it up really quick. I think we got Q4 sales in the range of 2 to 2.05 billion. The company had previously guided around 1.98 billion plus or minus 3%, and the street is right around under 2 billion, right around 1.98 billion. So a little stronger than expected from Broadcom.
Stock is trading up, BRCM 65 cents here in the pre-market. 28.55 closed to 27.88. This is a breakout for Broadcom. I'll tell you, this is consolidated for 3 days right under 28 bucks. If this indeed does open 28, this is a huge breakout here because you had multiple highs in late July. In September, we just snuck up and kind of had a fake out day just above 28. In October, we kissed 28 on the kisser. And then for 3 days in a row, we've kissed 28 on the kisser. So I'm not sure if somebody's lined up in the book, been selling a piece of 28, and if they're going to come back in the regular session here or not. But as of right now, this looks like a big breakout on the chart.
Just off the pre-market high, 28.65, and then you kind of get into this kind of the scary area here. I don't know if this was last earning. It has to be farther back because it's back in July here. Just had a horrible week in July. It sliced from 33.41 down to 26.58. So you're starting to travel in that area. This was one that I don't really see a lot of. Yeah, maybe if you want to pick it up on the cheap here, I mean, it's trading 60 cents above that breakout level. Maybe throw a bid in there at 28.10. You had two highs. Maybe if you get some weak longs off the open, or there's some big sellers still to 28, you might be able to scoop it up on the cheap, and then keep it high, an eye on the pre-market high 28.65 as we speak. I think that's going to get taken out though.
I think it's going to go higher here too. I think you're going to see a lot of people that were playing this off resistance here. Now that guidance comes out this morning, surprises anybody that was playing it off that 28 resistance, catches them short. I think this thing's going to maybe be a gap and go here, Joel. I'm not sure if you're going to get it at 28.10. I think they're going to line up all the way down between where we are now and $28, probably line the book, unless off the bat that seller comes in and tries to hold it down, maybe the opening price. But I don't know. I think this could be a gap and go here, and we're getting into that whole other gap area here too. So if I was short this thing, I think I'd be nervous as hell. And if I was long this thing, I think I'd be sitting back and waiting to see if this can get a little bit of gas.
Let's just review some of the pre-market trading from yesterday.
What was that all about? That's what I want to say. That's Cisco. Holy cow. We started covering it, and we're like, this thing's up $6 or $7, trading like $42 on that takeover, and they weren't the ones getting taken over. They were the ones taking over in the private deal. What was the company that I have the goldfish memory?
U.S. Food Corp or something?
U.S. Foods.
U.S. Foods. They were buying, and they popped the stock like $8 when we first started covering, and it was up at 42, and I was like, well, this seems a little bit overdone. 10 minutes later, I look back, it's 46. I was like, holy cow, man, this is just getting crazy here in the pre-market. Well, that rally did not last long. Sellers came in and they said, get me out of this thing, and look at the chart.
You got to say that's pure algos, right? I mean, who else, just the crescendo, well, it's up, and all these algos, oh, it's up 2, oh, it's up 3, and they keep crescendoing into each other. I mean, what other logical, no human, okay? You have a stock that started the year out at $30. It takes basically the better part of 12 months to move $4, okay? Then an announcement of a merger. I mean, I'm sure there's some synergies and some things are going to work.
News,
I'm sure it's obviously good news. They take the thing up, and it trades up $8. I believe it got to 46.82, and Joe had me do a quick piece on it, and I was looking.
That would have been up $12 at that time.
Yeah, $12.
It was up 30%. It was up 30%.
A food stock, Cisco Foods. I mean, come on. And then obviously some institutions or, some large holders, I mean, they probably fell off their chair when they, saw the stock was at $43. It opened right at 43. There was some pre-market support at 43. It opened right at that level. Got a little pop to 43.40, but boy, it came crashing down through that $43 level. Didn't quite get to fill the gap here. We still got a little ways to go. We'll see. I mean, after that kind of day yesterday, 36.69. So it broke $10 off the pre-market high. Still have $2.50 to fill the gap. So I'd be keeping an eye on yesterday's low, 36.69. Are trading up a little bit in the pre-market, but maybe some people that didn't sell yesterday will be selling today.
And you've got to be careful here. If you're trading after hours, if you're trading in the pre-market, this is your classic example of a lack of liquidity. This isn't a stock that's very actively traded after hours ever, or in the pre-market. So it comes out with news, and if people really want to be buying in the pre-market, the liquidity just simply is not there, and they'll be buying higher and higher. And that's what you see here, is just a complete lack of liquidity. Real liquidity comes in at 9:30. Real players, real institutions, real money comes in the regular session, and the price quickly falls down to reality here. So sometimes, it can give you a good opportunity, like you say, Joel, to exit a position. But if you're just looking at, day trading, if you're looking at, going with momentum on something like that, it's sometimes a good idea to wait for the regular session and wait till the real money comes in and get a feel for it, because that was absolutely insane. That
there were no people buying that stock.
There probably was. It's probably people getting screwed at the end of it. Though. There was it was
all computers buying that.
Joel's blaming the algos here.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much on the the Dennis Algo bandwagon, but I mean, just out of if you're looking at the standard deviations and the movement, there's absolutely no reason for that stock to move. I mean, I mean, it costs anything, whatever. Okay, maybe it's up a buck or two. And usually, Dennis, back in the old days, when somebody acquired somebody, their stock went down.
Yeah, I know, because usually now they get the whole synergies thing. That's a bull market, though. They find excuses to buy everything here, and yeah, and the algo, and I mean, humans can rationalize. That's the one thing that we do have, and that's the one edge you guys, as or they're listening to the show right now, as opportunistic traders. I always call you guys opportunistic traders. Um, you guys can rationalize. The computer, and they say, oh, we have thinking computers, they can say, but really they're just programmed, whatever, if they can program maybe to be adjust their strategies or whatever, but they can't rationalize like a human being. So that's the one edge you will always have, and that's why there will always be humans still in the game that can actually outperform the high frequency traders, outperform the algorithms, because they can rationalize. They can look at something like this and say, how in the hell is this food company that's moved 4 points the entire year now trading up $12? Computers are seeing, well, there's somebody to lean on, there's momentum, there's all these other things, all these other factors, and they're quick at getting out. There's probably not a lot of computers that came in there and got screwed and buying it up there. They're probably quick to get out too, and it's usually the guy that's late to the party that they're dumping it to. So just use that's what I always try to do too. That's like how I stay successful in this environment, is I try to rationalize things, try to say what is the herd doing here right now, which side of the trade should I be on, and that helps, and that gives you an edge.
Before we move on to our next issue, JH3 is trying to exit his large key.
You're still in key, JH3?
He's still in key, JH3. Boy, and we've been talking about that $13 level forever. It hasn't been able to get over that level. I'm not sure where you own it at here, but $12.98, $12.99. He's probably the size of 13 holding this thing down. Still, you got
13's been huge.
Yeah,
still huge.
Yeah, still huge. Got a couple closes over there. So, JH3, I'm probably owning a lot lower than this. So, don't let yourself go. Don't fret over a couple pennies here. If you're looking to exit the issue, I mean, it's just been hanging up here. This major support moves up to 1280 here. Double bottom 1279, 1282. So, if you're not going to sell it into strength, maybe sell it into weakness under that $1280 level. And he's also regretting a little bit chasing the rally in Suntech here, which has just been a volatile stock. But I don't know how much you've been chasing it because it's still in its upper quadrant here.
SUNE?
Yeah, SUNE. Now it's looking a little scary here. You're getting a pop-up, though, up in the pre-market here. 13, big range yesterday. Went up to 13.59, back into 13 handles.
Just a couple. It's nice we see those odd lots on the tape.
Oh, yeah.
Too. So we can actually see that it was 10 shares. So you can say 13.13. Only 10 shares traded at 13.13 here, though. So I don't know if I call that really. Maybe they're trying to paint the tape with odd lots here now. You don't have to use 100 share lots anymore, Joel, to paint the tape. You can use 1 share lots because it shows up on the tape. It's funny, it's going to be interesting to see how the odd lots do affect stuff. Coming forward here now. They've always been there, but they've just never been reported. So now you see that information, and somebody comes in and they look at the stock and they're like, oh, it's trading higher here up at 13.13. It's 10 shares. So literally that's not trading higher. This basically, the thing really hasn't traded here yet. So just be careful when you're looking and seeing it up. If the odd lot trade is the one that pushed it higher, that could be a little bit of painting the tape.
There's some pain going on here in the S&Ps, Dennis. We are only 2 ticks away from yesterday's low, 0475. Yeah, 05 even. Was your close on Friday. You just had a little dipsy doodle to 0475, and then real stubborn. The one thing I don't like about yesterday's trading is we had a really, really tight range. And it was only like a 7-8 point range. So yeah, the buyers are still there, but the sellers are coming down too here. You think we trade under 1800 today, Dennis?
I don't like the fact that gold is up $25. So obviously there's some fear out here today. Bullard comments yesterday maybe spooking the market here a little bit. So I'm not going to speculate, if we're going to trade under 1800 here. But right now, you said the triple top thing here. So the bear thesis here has a little bit of merit, like we were saying. This whole 1811, 1812 area here. We take out 1800, maybe they start getting nervous here again, but this bull has just been relentless here. It seems like every time we get a pullback, we ever used to get like 5% pullbacks, 10% pullbacks, and be a healthy pullback. Now we get a 1% pullback, and everybody comes in to buy this market here again. So just so many people underinvested, and the little guy's underinvested, and every time we pull back, they're get me in, get me in. There's just not enough fear out there.
I kind of like to see a pop up to the close here. I think that's going to be key. I mean, obviously that 1150 to 1250 area is well guarded here. So if you want to maybe try and get in on a little bit of strength ahead of that, 1809 all-time high close. That may be a potential, potential entry on the short side, or if you're looking to look at. Look at the exit. And good old DJ's back in the chat room here, and he wants us to look at CVI. He was following Mr. Icon on this one, and I don't know. Did you see Icon's dumping his own stock? So I don't know if he's dumping CVI with it, but that stock did have that big move up, and now it's starting to give it back a little bit. I think for me, I'd be looking at these. 38.15 was your low. I don't know. I think I'd hit the panic button a little bit ahead of that. That double bottom 38.50, 38.60 trading down the pre-market. Icon's dumping his own stock. He might be selling some other things. I think below that 38, there's no reason this thing doesn't go back to 36.
Yeah, it needs to hold 38. We did have an interesting, though, if you look at this, it's quietly 3 higher highs and higher lows. I guess you can say that despite the 3 lower closes. That's just a weird formation. You don't usually see 3 higher highs, 3 higher lows coupled with 3 lower closes. You ever see that, Joel?
I don't know if my chart's actually indicating that. I don't know. I don't see 3 because I see a 40. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's a weird formation there because
3 out
usually
of
that
4.
all coincides together. When you get 3 higher highs, 3 higher lows, usually it's closing higher 3 days, but it closed lower all 3 days. So I don't know what that means. That's like an anomaly right there. There, take a picture of that one.
Wait, are you looking at CVI?
Yeah, CVI. I'm looking at the high. So go back 3 days ago. High 39.74, low 38.15. High 2 days ago was 39.70 or 40.03, low 38.50, and then the low yesterday 38.60 and the high 40.20.
You don't have a 40.59 high and a 38.77 low and a 39.02 close after that 39.74 high.
Which day are you looking at? The 6th?
The 5th.
I'm looking at the 5th. I'm looking at this 5th, 6th, the 4th. No, wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 9th, the 6th, and the 4th. So I'm looking at Mondays. I'm looking at. Am I missing a day?
Yeah.
I am missing a day.
Yeah.
Look at this. My charting software is just missing a day. It just skipped from the 4th to the 6th. What's going on here? This is crazy
All right,
stuff.
it's trading down in the pre-market out of double bottom.
How's that happen? My charting software is just missing a day.
Yeah.
That day doesn't exist. Okay,
Yeah, maybe,
I guess they didn't like that.
Maybe
day.
you left it on
from the tape.
You left it on the chain, and just also for you short-term S&P scalpers here, we are on yesterday's low, so this is if you've been short, and this is a potential area of support. I just wanted to point that out to anybody that's scalping the S&Ps here.
Let's move on here to a few stocks that have been breaking out, and your wife Lisa had the call here on this GM, Joel. I'm going to tell you, this stock has been taking off ever since Lisa put the buy recommendation on this thing. Straight up for 3 days in a row. Wow, and it's trading up here again in the pre-market, despite the S&P futures trading down 3.5. Relative strength on GM is awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure. She actually issued that buy recommendation. I believe it was last Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. So I hope she doesn't ask me at dinner tonight where GM is. I'll just say, oh, did you see Ford went down?
Yeah, I know. I was looking. Ford is not participating in this rally. It just stuck. It's like the magnet trade, just holding it there at 1650, and it can't get away from that 1650 level. But GM, not the same story. GM just straight up.
Yeah, I'll say, well, the good news is the stock went up. The bad news is I bought the weekly 45 calls.
You bought too high and you bought too short. Is that what
I'd
you're
like it
telling
to come back down to the $40 level. I know it's not. I'd like to see it fill the gap. If it comes back down, fills that gap between 39, 34, and 60, I might have a little bit of interest in it, but not going to chase it here. And new all-time highs for the stock, 41.17. Well, I mean, new all-time highs for the previous bankrupt company that is
Yeah, the new
now,
stock, the
yeah,
new
is now a company. But we'll have to get Fernando on sometime and get his take on this stock because he was involved in that company for a while. So be interesting to get his take on this move. But in the pre-market, we 41.18, or excuse me, 41.58 it traded up to. So it's even been higher in the pre-market.
got Google made new all-time highs yesterday too. Quietly had that 1050 consolidation period where it put in 3-4 bottoms. I know you were talking about the 1050 level there, Joel. Did not take it out, and now we have resolved this formation of this holding this 1050 area to the upside again on our run. Can we see 1100 on Google?
I don't know. I'm looking into stock. It's
Joel's
just
bearish.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of kicking myself on this one because when it sat at that 1055 thing, I contemplated a strangle at that level. Like the 1050s and the 1060s, and just didn't pull the trigger, and now poof, those 1060s would be in the money. 10 let's see, let's just go to the daily here. That's only parameter we have. 1082.31. We are trading up here in the pre-market. I think that 1083.30 we hit pre-market trading. I just think with the S&P is going down here, I think this thing is the resistance is gonna move in ahead of 1080 as we're ticking down here. So can't say it's going to 1100. Can't really say it's going to 1060 either.
Apple had a little bit of an update yesterday with following their with Google. A bet was trading higher. Kind of put in a guess. Can you call that a double bottom? 559.57 and 560.90. Can you call that, or is that
Yeah, I mean, in this,
stretching it? Am I
in
stretching on the
you
five
know, in
dollar
this
stock?
this $500 stock here, a double bottom could be a double bottom. So you just have to use
Use the
that level.
imagination.
I would exit that if it did take out the 560. S&P's making new lows here as we speak. Dennis just made an 1803.75 low.
Did you buy the weekly puts this week too, Joel?
In the S&Ps.
Yeah.
No, I did not. I
No,
did
you did
not. Nope,
not.
I
So
scalped that.
maybe we will go down this time.
Okay, all right. No,
That's
you
making funny.
you might be right.
A couple upgrades here of significance. Rambus getting upgraded at Jefferies here this morning. Stock we haven't talked about for a while, RMBS. It actually has had huge consolidation here too, and we are getting a breakout, and I mean a big breakout here on Rambus. Not only are they getting upgrade at Jefferies, they actually signed a patent license agreement with Micron last night too. That was announced after hours, and this stock is trading up a cool 9.61% right now, up 82 cents at 935.
Rambus, is it that the stock that allowed you to predict the flash crash in 2010?
Actually, it was. It was the Rambus pricing action that I was looking at when, and I wrote that article over there on Zero Hedge in January that I was saying, well, it's a liquidity issue with Rambus, and you have a lot of high frequency traders. We don't have the market makers we used to. They don't have affirmative obligations. And I was putting that whole thesis together, and I watched Rambus go that day from $25 down to like 18. They struck the last 4 points from the tape. So if you look at the tape, you won't see that day back in January, but I can post the article if you want to read about it. And basically, in January of 2010, so 4 months before the flash crash, I said, well, if Rambus can behave that way, the entire market could actually behave that way in a single event. You could see some type of liquidity crisis or liquidity event where all the participants quickly cancel all their orders and you're left with a liquidity vacuum. And lo and behold, 4 months later, on May 6, 2010, the flash crash happened. So
974 high in the pre-market. We have pulled back from that level, trading at 935. It is a breakout on the daily charts here. You need to go way, 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 way back here to find some resistance. You had a 975 high. That was back on October 18th. look at the pre-market trading. You made a high right at that area, 974. I just have to use that as resistance. I don't know if that's going to be your greatest shorting opportunity, but you have to keep an eye on that as resistance.
Celgene also upgraded here this morning. They are getting upgraded at Credit Suisse, and the stock is trading up another $2. Here's a stock that just never stops going up. I've got this one in my portfolio. It's been one of my best ones. Bought this thing back at $59 about 2 years ago.
How do you
It's now at
remember that?
170. I sold half of it, but
How do you remember that?
you always remember the good ones. You're like, because you're excited to keep looking at it in your portfolio, and when you're up in a stock, you want to look at it all the time, right? So I look at my investment portfolio. I always like looking at my Biogen and Celgene because I'm up so much in the dang things. Where am I going to sell this thing? I haven't. These things have started to just getting ridiculous now. You get like Biogen, BIIB, obviously. I bought that back I think it was $50 like 2 years ago. It's 286. I don't even know what the hell to do with that now. And Celgene here, I bought it back. I think it was $59. I actually blipped down. I can see it on the chart in April of 2012. It had come out with a little bit of bad news that day. I knew I liked the company. I'd been watching it for a while, and I was like, this is going to be a good opportunity. I think it actually went down $10 that day from like 69 to 58, 53, and I think I just missed the low by about 50 cents or 70 cents through a little bit of my portfolio there for an investment, and obviously it was a good one. I did sell half of it. I think when it got up to about 120 or 130, I decided it was a double. And sometimes when a stock doubles, what I like to do in an investment portfolio is I sell half of it because then I'm playing with the house's money. So, and then I let the other half ride. Well, I wish I would have held the whole thing because obviously it's just continued to run.
Hey, just got a quick heads up here from GGB here on ARIA. This stock that was really beaten up here, a pharmaceutical stock, right?
Yeah.
Am I right about that? That's the way the pharmas move here. Not see if we're getting any news on this. Traded up yesterday. I've been holding the $4 level. We just got a spike in this thing above 470. We hit 474, peeling back a little bit. It's only up 35 cents. So
Stifel Nicholas upgrading the stock here this morning. So there's your catalyst. That's got it trading up 8% here. I'm not sure if Shaky Jakey's around, if we could jump into the report, or if Brent knows any details on what that upgrade is all about there from Stifel Nicholas. But that's definitely the catalyst here this morning.
You haven't quite got to the resistance from a few days ago, 485, 492, and then you were above the 5 level for a couple days. So still 35 cents for the $5 level. So I'll keep an eye on that as resistance. The stock has definitely been on the recovery since, had that super bad news that sent it down in the gap area.
Brent, do you remember what that bad news was on ARIA? It's probably some drug or something, I would imagine.
Iclusig is their main candidate right now. I believe it was some bad data on Iclusig.
Iclusig.
I think
that's
I'm
what
saying
knocked
that
it
one
down
right.
when it went from like $17 all the way down to $5.
I think they delayed. I think the FDA was requiring a delay in their trials. Maybe that was it. Don't quote me on that one, but it was definitely related to that Iclusig.
What day was that? I'm going to go to the pro here right now and see if I can actually find it.
And Dennis, while you're doing that, JH3 just threw a good question here about suggestions for reading material about option Greeks. He kind of wants to brush up on some of the options basic. The official book is Black and Scholes, right? I mean, that is the
it's like the textbook.
Yeah, that's the
it.
textbook of options. So I mean, that might be a little bit technical, but Dennis,
is there a simpler version of a book out there? Maybe the news desk can find that if they're like to simplify some of the stuff there. If that's what JH3 is asking, I think maybe Kyle he was saying he was going to go maybe.
Yeah, he's going to do some. And I know some of our MarketFi mavens also offer some pretty good option education. I'm not sure if
Sang Lucci.
Yeah, Sang Lucci. Yeah, you might want to check out that MarketFi product. So okay.
The news looking back there, Ariad said pausing enrollment in studies of Iclusig. So that's what it was. back on the 9th of October when it really went down there. So they were having problems with their drug, and then that just obviously was a disaster for the company, making the stock, trade from $18 down to 5. And it's going to be a struggle back. I mean, stocks just don't go from $5 back to 18.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's
So
two perspectives to look at this. The one perspective is, hey, you picked it up on the cheap there, right? And
yeah,
you're getting some nice profits in it. You had your risk reward ratio when it got down there. On the other hand, if you were stuck with this puppy, when it had the gap down day, you're still looking at a big loser until it gets up to the 1750 area. So, what you'll see why these stocks just don't go straight back up is because you do have people stuck in the stock, and then you also have your short-term players, that loaded up at the bottom, and they don't care what those drugs ever do.
yeah.
They just want to
It's
book
hard
some
when you're a
profits.
one-trick pony too. Like a lot of these smaller pharmaceutical companies are banking on one or two big drugs. You get the big diversified pharma, and they get bad news on a drug, it'll knock it down, but it's not going to put the company out of business. Sometimes, you got to watch these one-trick ponies on these things. Also here, bring up Elon because sometimes you can pick bottoms in these things and get it right. And this was one that I actually did. If you look back, look at the chart of ELN, which was it was like $36 back in 2008, and this was one just had terrible report on some drug. I can't remember what it was, but it was a company I had looked at for a while. It pulled all the way back down and got in the single digits, and I was like, I'll take a flyer on it. I think I bought 1,000 shares through to my investment portfolio, forgot about it. I think around $6 or $7 actually, and there was one that I did pick a bottom on. It actually went down to like 450 or something like that, but eventually came back, and eventually it's getting bought out now by PRGO. So sometimes these things can work themselves out by picking bottoms. Not saying it does in this case, but sometimes they can work out.
So what did you do? You double down on it?
No, no, I never had it. I just basically picked the bottom. It was a company that I wanted for a while. I was up at $36. I've been eyeing it. It went down like 15, but then I was like, oh, it's pretty bad news. So I waited for a little while, and I actually, once it started forming that bottom around $5, you can see in like early 2008. Actually, if you look, actually,
Yeah, no, I see it.
yeah, if you look at 2008, it started forming a good base around the $5 area, and I was like, that's a good enough base where I'll try to pick the bottom, and that's the difference. Sometimes you want to wait for the base to start forming there, especially after a huge, and it actually formed there for like 2 years, from like 2009, 2010, just kind of hung out between $5 and $7, really kept bouncing from 5. So eventually I did, throw it in, and it's like a lottery ticket. I mean, don't ever put money into these little pharmaceutical companies that you can't afford to lose. But if you think you want a little bit of a gamble in your investments there, and sometimes, some of these little big pharma that's been killed, sometimes they can turn around and come back. And Elon was one example of a company that did actually come back quite a bit.
And what company took it over?
PRGO, Perigo.
Oh,
They just,
Parago. I believe.
yeah, the merger should go through there. I thought it was supposed to
So
go through by
I think
actually.
that's an Allegan, Michigan company actually, Parago. So are you gonna hold on to the
I
Parago?
sold it actually. I thought about it. I thought about holding, and then I was going to get Perigo shares, and I was like, you know what? I had bought it like said $6. It got up to like 16, so I'd really, basically 2.5 times my money or something like that on it. So I was like, I'm up 150% on this thing. I'm done with it. So the merger came out. I held it for a little while after the merger. Thought about holding it, and sometimes I do that because like on my investment portfolio, this is much different than my trading. This is just the investment portfolio. Sometimes I like to hold companies forever. So it would have been a good one to hold because Perigo's continued to run up here too, and I obviously would have had exposure to that stock.
I'll tell you, anybody that's holding on to this thing, though, this Parago,
Found it top there, right?
yeah, I mean, it's had a great move, but boy, it's got tight ranges. It's looking kind of tired up here at the 155 level, 154. Had a low at 54.18 yesterday. You're trading below that. I mean, you get some negative momentum in this thing, not a heavy volume thing. You could be right back here at the 150 level. You had a low at 150.76 on November 14th. So doesn't that chart look a little bit heavy to you, Dennis? It's had the big run up, and now you got the consolidation.
A little bit concerning there. I mean, you want to see it eventually break out, but sometimes we see this where it consolidates for a while and eventually, pops up again. Always these rounding tops, and you think, oh, well, it's going to start going down here now, but then everybody else starts looking at it, and then eventually breaks out and catches all those people short. So I don't know if I'd jump off the bandwagon there until this thing started taking like 150. So I'd give it a little bit. If I was, not for a trade, but, if I was long invested in this thing, I'd probably give it a little bit yet. So. One other little pharma company that is popping here significantly this morning is Geron Corp, Gern. Is that how you say it? Geron Corp? Geronimo, anyways, GERN trading up 70 cents here right now. They're announcing at an investors meeting presentation the first trial of, okay, this will be an interesting one, imetelstat.
You got it.
Is it's a metal stat? Brent, you take this report here because you're better at pronouncing these things than me.
I think that was you. I think you had it.
and drug is for
Myofibrosis.
myofibrosis. Anyway, so good news on that drug here. Announced at their investment in their presentation there. I guess there was some slides or something that they were showing that the first trials were going well with this. And the stock is trading up significantly here. It has been on an absolute tear. This here was a $1 stock in August. It is now a $6 stock. So that shows you these biotech, small biotech companies sometimes can come back here, and this is one that is coming back with a vengeance.
677 it hit in the pre-market. We've fallen back and finding support just above the $6 level at 611. What are these analysts? Do they go to these conferences with like tablets, or are they like trading on their smartphones or something? Is that what they're doing, or you think they're relaying information to people?
I think it's just people that go and sit in on these presentations there, and they're taking notes, and then they're obviously talking about the notes. And who is the one that broke this? Is there like some specific analyst firm that talked about this?
692 we hit on Friday here. Haven't been able to hit that in the pre-market. Only got to 677. So I'd keep an eye from that falling off quickly off that 677 level. So still still $7 under that 677 is 692. Is that's it's going to be a big area.
It's trading like crazy here. It's 944,000 shares, and this is trading very, very actively. One concern, though, and you said what was the high after hours here pre-market here? 697?
677.
677. We got up to 692 2 days ago here. I'm not loving the chart here, actually, because now you're giving back most of the pre-market gains here. You start getting under $6, and then you got that dreaded like head and shoulders kind of thing happening here. So I don't know. I don't love the fact that it's not holding on in the majority of these gains. Maybe this is a healthy pullback. Below 6, I'm not liking this thing nearly as much. Above 6, I guess you can still make an argument. Below 6,
Hey gentlemen, I got a pretty decent headline here. GM said to name Barra as first female CEO.
Whoa!
Succeeding Ackerson.
New CEO for General Motors.
Barra will begin her role in January. Wow. Yeah.
They're selling the stock off, actually, here on this news. It's just ticked down 40.73 here. Was trading up over 41 in the pre-market. Now 40.70, so GM taking a turn for the worse here in the pre-market.
Yeah, we just have hit a lot. I mean, it's a big move, big gap. They're really pounding this thing.
40.60, 40.60. Yeah, just since Brent just said this, 20 cents it just fell further.
Brent, with the breaking news here, 40.31. That was the low from yesterday. That coincided with Friday's high, so 20 cents away from support here. Maybe gonna get to put my words in action a little bit sooner if it gets down to fill that gap between 39.40 and 39.60.
Ackerson stepping down, so I guess maybe the market's trying to dig a little deeper into that. Why did he step down, sort of thing. I'll keep you guys posted as I get the details.
It's probably not a bad time to step down. You've taken over through the merger. Stock made new all-time highs. See ya.
Yeah, you got that on your resume. You turn this whole thing around. 40.5 now offered for 9,000 shares. That's a significant pre-market offer there. 40.40 trading now. So now we're down 40 cents from when Brent just broke this news. So where's support, Joel? Where are we heading?
40.31 was yesterday's low here. We'll see if that's a bounce underneath that. You got a ways to go to the psychological $40 level. But let's see what happens here at 40.31.
Looking here. Let's go back to Carl Icahn because we were talking just briefly there on Icahn, and his stock IEP has got to be one of the stocks of the year. even the stock of the last 2 months. Back in October, this was $80. It's $148 it closed at yesterday. That is absolutely incredible. It is under significant pressure here today. 8K showing the sale of 2 million depository units by Icon. So it looks like he is dumping a little bit of his own stock there. Will use the proceeds for investments in operating sales. So investors not liking that news.
No, let's see what it's done so far here in the pre-market. We've made a low at 133.71. We're getting a little bounce off that to the 134.24 level. Uncle Carl here is taking some profits. You did have support at the 140 level. You hit that yesterday. So if you get a $5 rally back up to 140, I think you start to find resistance at that level as you fill the gap up between 140 and 149. If this downward momentum continues, I don't see any support until you get down to 129.50, which was your low on December 4th. But Carl's talking a little bit negative about the market, and now he's putting his words into action a little bit in his own stock here. So good to see Carl taking some profits.
General Motors sliced through that 40.31, Joel. Just got down to 40.13. So now we're back up at 40.42. We are chopping around like crazy on this General Motors stock here right now, just at 40.55. So, wow, it's unbelievable that it can turn that quickly. Just got down 40.13. That's what momentum is, in the pre-market especially, because it's lack of liquidity. The stocks can just turn on a dime here. Here we were, 40.80. It just ticked down to 40.13 about 30 seconds ago. It's back up at 40.73 right now. So we are flying around on this General Motors. This is going to be big-time moving here, a big-time mover here today. It's already traded 235,000 shares here in the pre-market.
That's why if you're using that, like if you're using the, the daily parameters, let's say you had shorted this thing yesterday or ahead, or in the pre-market is sometime today. Well, okay, 40.31. Well, it went down to 40.16. So you were fretting a little bit when it went 15 cents below you, but now what? Now it's right back up at the point almost at 41. So
40.90, just ticked up to. So crazy volatility in General Motors here today.
Yeah.
I don't know, is Ford moving at all on this? I don't really think it is much. It's down a nickel here, just kind of stuck there in 1650 land. I don't know if it's ever going to get out of 1650 land, but GM chopping around. It's a chop fest.
I feel like Ford and GM are not trading so correlated anymore.
They aren't. Correlations are breaking. Brent, it's a great point, because correlations are breaking down on like everything. In the last year, remember like 2 years ago, every stock was correlated. I can remember like putting on pair trades like with like McDonald's and like Walmart or even, well, I guess that was a bad example, but like because the stores are, the McDonald's stores are in the Walmart stores.
McDonald's and Caterpillar, let's say.
Oh yeah, or McDonald's and Caterpillar, everything. And you could do that, if the S&P futures, you could just basically trade. I just hedge myself with anything. It's not that way anymore. Every single day we're seeing stocks that are up, stocks that are down. It's a stock picker's world here now. There's always something going up. There's always something going down. There's lots of sector rotation here. And so it's about picking the right stocks here now, as opposed to just buying anything and anything goes up. So if you pick the right one, you can really be rewarded.
Yeah, the S&Ps are trying to go down as well. We are trading a buck below yesterday's low at 1804, 75 here. I don't see any support. You had an intraday low under the $1,800 level. Let me see. I believe it was at 1796. That was our low from Friday in the pre-market trading. But Fernando, are you on the line with us?
I am, Joel.
Okay, we got a special guest coming on. He is the CTO here of Benzinga. He's the one that keeps us in line all the time, and believe me, that is not a very easy job. Fernando Prieto, I hope I pronounced your last name right.
It's Prieto, but it's close enough.
Prieto. Okay. Well, it's just a circumstance here. We know you've had a lot of experience at General Motors, and I know Dennis and I had a quick meeting with you yesterday, and you talked about your experiences working there. Why don't you fill our listeners here in the OptionsHouse chat room and your background at GM and your current role at Benzinga?
Sure. So I worked at GM between 2008 and 2011. I worked in market research, global portfolio strategy, corporate strategy, biz dev, and then I did some venture capital investments for GM. And I actually had the chance to work with Mary a little bit in a project that when she was running HR for GM. And now at Benzinga, I'm basically running operations or supporting operations.
Okay, you made an interesting comment to me when we had our meeting with Dennis last week, and you were with GM during during the downturn and the bankruptcy, and then you were also there during the
Recovery.
during the recovery, and you just the comment you made to me that was interesting was, that you would think after a major company like that goes belly up, that there would be, a change in culture and a change in attitude.
Yes, GM is one of those big companies that felt it could do no wrong, and there was a sense in the company that what was happening to GM was not a product of bad decisions by management, but a product of the environment. It was a perfect storm that caught GM at the worst possible time when GM was already on its way back, and so it was GM was already doing a good job. That was the feeling inside, and what happened is just the economy went under and it took GM with it, but it wasn't GM's fault. But the funny thing about this choice of Mary as the CEO is that Mary was the head of HR before running product, which is what she's doing right now. And she was a big advocate of investing in changing the culture of the company. So I think there might have been a little bit of that in choosing Mary over others like Mark Royce or Steve Kursky, for example.
Okay.
That's so important. I mean, the culture, and the way that obviously the people think about the company is so important to the future or the way the future of the company is going to perform there. So maybe that's what they're exactly right there, Fernando. Maybe that's what they're looking at here when they choose her.
Well, I mean, I think there's more than that. I mean, maybe I understand the sentiment of the market. I think the market may have felt that Mark Royce was better prepared because he's running North America. He's an engineer. He's been a GM for a long time. He's a second generation or third generation GM lifer. But Mary has a lot of experience. She's ran a manufacturing plant. She's run HR. She's run purchasing as her role now as head of product. She's a very smart executive, and the time I worked with her briefly, she was a great leader, and I think she will do a really good job.
So you were with the company during the downturn, and then obviously the reorganization, and then the IPO. I mean, are you surprised at the performance of the stock? I mean, did what's your perspective? I mean, it IPO'd in the 30s, hit 40s, and then went down under 20. And I know Mr. Buffett loaded up around that $20, $21, $22 area. Now we're back up at 40. Were you surprised by the turnaround in the stock price?
Well, I mean, I think the company like GM, it all comes down to product. I mean, there's a lot of, you have to, be able to market the brands. The brands have to be strong. You have to have a strong leadership team and be able to grow in all the key markets. But at the end, it comes down to product. And, GM had been investing in product before the company went bankrupt, but there was not enough money to invest in every single product. So once the company got its balance sheet in order, they had the ability to invest much more in product and accelerate product, basically, launching product in the market. So when I was there, I remember looking at the product charts in 2013, 2014 were going to be really big years for GM. So I think now that people are seeing the products that are coming for GM and how strong those products are as compared to competition, I think that's why the stock is now starting to peak up because now you can see GM is going to be able to gain market share in some key segments around the world.
I mean, that in comparison, with Tesla, which, sells a couple thousand cars and has a ridiculous valuation here. Here you have they are making money. I mean, to me, just, looking at it from the outside, I mean, that, a lot of the problems with GM and the reasons for his initial bankruptcy was, basically the legacy costs from his employees, from years of obligations that they couldn't fulfill, and then they had the bankruptcy, and they got rid of a lot of those obligations. Do you think that's gonna that the whole pension thing is ever gonna rear its ugly head again?
Well, not anymore, right? Because GM used to have defined, I think it was defined benefit, and now they have defined contribution, right? So it's a very different pension plan. GM doesn't offer pension for any of the new employees. Everybody has their own 401k, like in a bunch of other companies. But there was an interesting stat that I remember. I think in about 1962, when GM had like 50% market share in the United States, the ratio from current employees to retired employees was like 11 to 1 or something like that. And I think in like 2006, 2008, the ratio was about 3 retirees for every GM employee. So the ratio had completely flipped, and now every GM employee had to support 3 GM retirees. That was impossible to sustain.
Unsustainable, yeah.
So that was a big issue.
Wow.
Yeah, so obviously, there's a huge turnaround story here, though, in General Motors here. So are you bullish or bearish here, Fernando, on GM's
We're
future
putting him on the spot.
We got to put you on the spot here.
He's got his Harvard MBA, so he's probably going to be able to give us a good.
I'm so glad you said it on the air, Joe. I think long term I'm bullish on GM. I've seen, one of the perks I had when I was a GM, I had access to the design studio, and I saw the products that GM was working on. And GM had an incredible team of engineers, incredible team of designers. The products are incredible. Technology that they're investing in is great. Long-term, GM is a great company, and having Mary at the helm, working on culture, which is to me the Achilles heel of GM. I think GM is going to be a great company for years to come.
And we can't even call it government motors anymore. Kyle pointing out, obviously, there in the chat that they did pay off the last of their debt now, too. So it's General Motors again there, Joel. No more government motors.
No, and we are really lucky to have Fernando in the office, not only helping us here with Benzinga, but what a great day to have him on as a special guest here. Before we move on, since you have some experience in the auto industry. And not as much experience, but taking a look at Fords here, do you have any opinion on that issue?
Ford, I think they did a really good job with when they hired Mullally. I think it's going to be interesting to see who actually replaces Mullally. I think Mark Fields is basically the right candidate, the best position to take over his role. I think the story of Ford is different because they didn't take any government money, and they did a complete turnaround without taking government money. So it's another great story another great story for Michigan for sure.
Okay, and then the final, the hot rod, a stock we like to talk about all the time here, the company that has a high stock price, doesn't sell a lot of cars here. Tesla Motors has made a low off the 116, trying to recover. Ridiculous from a fundamental standpoint, PEs, whatever. You can't touch this stock, but you got any long-term opinion on Tesla Motors?
I'm kind of conflicted on this one just because they have an interesting model. They started with basically a Lotus chassis and loaded up with batteries and created basically a go-kart that went 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds. The funny thing about Tesla is how they're applying the Apple model, the retail Apple model to the automotive industry, which is an issue in terms of dealer laws. As you know,
Yep.
You're not automakers are not supposed to be able to sell cars directly to the public. You have to do it through dealerships, and I don't know how Tesla's getting away with that. But the funny thing too is also how companies like GM have changed their approach to Tesla. When I was at GM, Tesla was another startup that was going to sell 1,000 cars and was not even touch GM's market share. And now GM announced publicly that they have a task force looking at Tesla and seeing how to counter what Tesla is doing in the market, which is very interesting. So let's see what happens. The jury's still out, I think.
Okay, all right. Dennis, any more questions for Fernando here, or we'll let him...
we better let him get back to work to keep us all working hard there, too. So thanks, Fernando, for everything, and thanks for coming on the show here today.
Thanks, guys. My pleasure.
Okay, we are now going to go to...
Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Brent's got more news. The news.
When I'm saying hold on, You know, it's something important. I do
Okay.
got some more details. GM is confirming this news on their website, also naming a couple of other execs. Dan Ammon will be named president, and Tim Solso will be named chairman. Apparently, Dan Akerson's wife was recently diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
Apparently, that is the reason that he'll be stepping down.
Yeah, because I was going to ask that. Was that in the pipeline that he was stepping down, or is this just
I don't remember ever hearing about that.
So I
Oh.
wonder if that's why we had the initial sell-off where we sold off hard, and then obviously they get the more reasoning behind it, and we had the vicious rally right back up to where we were. We're actually pulling back here now, but maybe that makes some sense then.
Well, actually,
As the
we
news
don't.
slowly breaks.
Actually, what Fernando said is, as far as the culture from the bankruptcy, post bankruptcy, it's very encouraging to hear what he says, and I sure hope Lisa's not listening to this broadcast because there's more bullish news for GM. So, mum's the word if you guys talk to Lisa later on. But okay, we are now officially we are going to move on to Mighty Joe Young with the morning headlines.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Fernando, for coming on the show today. Certainly appreciate that insider knowledge. Well, I mean, I guess insider experience is not really insider knowledge. But going around the headlines today, we've got Nissan is set to raise prices in India by about 4%, according to an Economic Times report. In India, Nissan will raise the prices of its vehicles, including the Micra hatchback and Torano SUV, by up to 4% next month to offset the impact of rupee depreciation and escalating input costs. Microsoft is moving Windows leaders to the Bing team, according to a GeekWire report. Ted Dworkin, who oversaw the Windows Store app Marketplace and Windows 8, and Jensen Harris, the Director of Program Management for Windows User Experience, have been moved to Microsoft's Bing team as the company continues its reorganization. More management changes, and we've got more coming up, too. Qualcomm is taking an aim at the low end with its first 64-bit chip, according to a report by All Things Digital. Qualcomm's first 64-bit capable mobile chip, the Snapdragon 410, is an entry-level processor designed for phones that sell for $150 or less, but includes a number of high-end features. Zoosk is planning a 2014 IPO for its online dating site. The online dating site Zoosk, that became popular by helping make romantic links between Facebook users, is planning an IPO in the U.S. in 2014, reporting by Bloomberg Businessweek. The company has selected Bank of America to lead its IPO, with Citigroup, Royal Bank of Canada, sources have said. eBay's John Donahoe has been calling the drone delivery by Amazon a fantasy. He told Bloomberg that the possibility of product deliveries with drones, as Amazon has proposed, is a long-term fantasy. A little bit of a dish there at Amazon. Nokia's tax bill in India could soar to $3.4 billion. In India, Nokia's tax liabilities in India, Nokia's tax liabilities could be much greater than expected, said the country's tax officials. The company's tax bill could jump to $3.4 billion from the current $340 million, says an Indian income tax official who declined to be named. Nokia denies that it has broken any tax rules and is defending itself in an Indian court. That is according to the Wall Street Journal. Boeing sees a jump in aircraft finance market to $112 billion in 2014. Reuters reported that the buyers of commercial jets are set to turn on the growing capital markets for more financing next year as the value of jet sales rises by about 7.7% to $112 billion. That is forecasted by Boeing. The company said that capital markets will account for about 22% of total jet financing, up from 14% this year and 3% in 2009. All Things Digital tech editors said to complete deal with NBC Universal. News Corporation's All Things D editors, Walt Mossberg and Kara Swisher, who are leaving News Corp at year's end, completed a deal with NBC Universal, owned by Comcast, for a news and conference business that will bring their current staff to a newly named website. And this is reported by Bloomberg. The deal provides NBC Universal with a bigger entry into technology coverage and potentially gives the startup stories exposure on CNBC, NBC News, and MSNBC. Siemens is discussing metals technology unit sale. The company is contemplating selling its VAI Metals Technologies unit as CEO Joe Kaiser looks into revamping the company's portfolio, according to Bloomberg, citing 3 people with knowledge of the matter. Charter Communications CEO sees company growing in video subscriptions. Tom Rutledge, the CEO of Charter Communications, says he believes the cable operator will show positive video customer additions by the end of 2014 when it completes upgrading its infrastructure to all digital, reported by the Broadcasting and Cable. The executive, who declined to say how many customers he expects to add, says Charter is turning its video business around through repricing and expanding its HD channel capacity. In other Charter news, Charter and Time Warner Cable are reportedly in no hurry for deals. Time Warner Cable's incoming CEO Rob Marcus said he's in no hurry to sell the company, while Charter CEO Tom Rutledge, a potential suitor, said the smaller company sees benefits in growing through acquisitions, as reported by Reuters. Nokia to offer India $487 million to transfer factory to Microsoft. Bloomberg reports that Nokia is prepared to pay at least $487 million to India's tax authorities to enable the transfer of a factory in the country to Microsoft, sources reported. And in other management news, Salesforce.com president is leaving the company. Salesforce.com president Hillary Koplow-McAdams will become the chief revenue officer. What's that? Kaplow McAdams will become the new chief revenue officer of New Relic, a fast-growing software monitoring company. New Relic announced, according to All Things Digital. The website said it had reported on September 30th that Kaplow McAdams was preparing to leave Salesforce as part of leadership changes at the company. And moving on to AOL, John Broad, who was most recently in charge of AOL's venture arm, is leaving the company as well. According to All Things Digital, Broad is said to be headed for a startup. And as far as I know, he is not coming to Benzinga, so we're not too sure about where he's headed next. Samsung shipped 10 million Galaxy Note 3 devices since the launch. Samsung announced that its Galaxy Note 3 phablet device has surpassed 10 million unit shipments since its international launch, reported the Next Web. General Motors is seeing a China-like boom in Indonesian car market. General Motors is expecting to see an auto boom similar to that of China in the Indonesian market, according to Reuters, citing the company's president of Indonesian operations. Some estimates suggest that sales in India could double over the next 3 years. Let me just scan my wire here really quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. Retailers combat Amazon with their own holiday shipping. The success of the holiday shopping season has a new key factor coming into play, and that is shipping. Package delivery is becoming a competitive weapon in the holiday retail season, reports the Wall Street Journal. Numerous retailers have embraced shipping to compete against Amazon. They are shuttling merchandise on demand from store to store, warehouse to store, store to customer, and often both quickly and free. The battle over shipping is viewed as a necessity when online sales are growing at nearly 4 times the rate of overall retail sales, and where people who shop online on average plan to spend 20% more than people who shop only in physical stores, according to research firm eMarketer. Just a reminder to all you loyal and faithful listeners that the show would not be possible without our dear friends at OptionsHouse, who are willing to give you 150 commission-free trades if you sign up for an OptionsHouse account just by clicking one of the links on this page. You just go to the top of the right, click on the link, open an account, 150 commission-free trades, all because you listen to Benzinga's pre-market info. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to my pal here, Jake, with the morning movers before the bell.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I'm going to get you guys a couple of movers out there in the market right now. Obviously, I think the one we want to take a look at first is just General Motors with that huge news breaking, massive management shakeup. So we did have General Motors moving to the upside this morning following that news. Let me get the chart up there. Joel, I don't know what your reaction here is, but General Motors it's down a little under 1%. So traders not too excited about it. Still above that $40 level though, so it looks like it's probably going to hold that. What are you thinking on this issue?
We were looking at 40.31. That was the low that you had from Monday's trading, and it did slice there through there in the pre-market, got to 40.11. So you still have to respect that 40.20 area to be support here going into the session. Long term, I'd still like to invest in this thing. I still would like to see a little bit of a pullback, but when sometimes that's not always the best strategies. When stocks like to start running and breaking out, you can keep moving your bids up and not get anything. And then also just talking with Fernando quickly after the show, his opinion was that they had chosen a very good person to take over the company. So with that being said, 40.11 pre-market low. Keep an eye on that.
Another one I want to take a look at is Toll Brothers. This is the home builder. Tango Oscar Lima is the ticker there. Company reported EPS of 54 cents, was the expected 43 cents before they opened this morning. We also had revenues coming in strong at 1.04 billion versus the expected 1 billion. Shares are up a little over 3% right now. They're above the $34 level, but haven't quite reached $35 yet. So the luxury home builder getting a little bit of a boost here. Joel, what are you thinking on Toll Brothers?
Well, Jake, while you were still sleeping or going to bed here, it did trade up. It did. You probably got up. It was at 6:30.
Oh yeah,
because you're in the office here by 7. Oh, and by the way, I was really glad when I came in here on Monday that the couches were still in the office.
We're worried that they'd maybe gotten pulled into East Lansing.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you just were looking for some spare couches or something. Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow and just grab what you got.
I gotta get my little Michigan State dig in here. He takes it easy on me, but I like to fire back every once in a while. But
well, we all know who the Big Ten champions are.
Exactly,
so
exactly. We haven't even made it to a Big Ten championship game yet here, so. No, and you got to remember though, Jake. I do have a daughter at State, so
Indeed.
I have pink. So I want to say we're a split household, but if she's happy, I'm happy. But Toll Brothers did get over 35. It did get to 35.10 here in the pre-market, just about 8.15. So it has traded at that level. If you go back and look on November 26, it hit 35.09. We backed off from there. I still look at that as a resistance. I'm not telling you to go out and short the stock at that area, but if you've been holding on to this stock for a long time, you did have your blip over 39, but 35 was the level also in July. So that's what we'll be keeping an eye on in Toll Brothers.
I would just like to contribute to the mover conversation. My outside temperature display shows that we've dropped to 13 degrees outside.
Wow, we started at 17 at 6 this morning,
That's
and then
right.
the sun rises and the temperature goes down. That's Michigan weather for you.
That's right. So that's my contribution.
So things continue to get more frigid here in Benzinga land. I guess we'll have to crank up the heat a little bit.
We have heat here?
Yeah, right. You know what's weird actually is I would actually, speaking of heat, I know this is cheesy, but the other home builders, I'd expect them to be heating up on that Toll Brothers report, but they really haven't been. I'm not seeing Beazer Homes, which is BZH, DR Horton, DHI, or even Hovnanian, I guess is how you say that, HOV. None of those are really moving yet, kind of flat. So keep an eye on those at the open. We could get some action in those. So I don't know, Joel. What do you think? Any of those home builders?
Just if you're gonna use, that stock as your leader here, and that stock is opening up into resistance, I think that's kind of the way that I would approach the Beazer Homes, the Hovnanian, and the rest of that sector.
Another one I want to take a look at is Broadcom. Company did release some guidance this morning, giving us a look at what they're expecting their fourth quarter revenue to come in at. They're expecting over $2 billion. The street was looking for $1.98 billion. So Broadcom bringing in some nice numbers there for its fourth quarter, or at least expecting to. The exact number there was they're expecting 2 billion to 2.05 billion. The street was looking for 1.98 billion, so a little bit above what the street expectations were. Shares were up as much as 3% this morning. I guess they could have been a little bit higher than that. That was my last look. Right now I'm seeing at 2.58% or so. Joel, what do you think on this one? We're above $28. You think we can break 29?
This is kind of an interesting pre-market chart here. 28 had been the number to break through as the resistance on the upside. Now you have broken through it. You made a 28.69 high just not too long ago. Pretty big print. Almost 70,000 shares went off, but it's not backing off. It's 28.60. I'm not sure if it's bid or offered there, but usually if you're going to base this on like the Cisco pattern or the pattern that you have in Toll Brothers, it's hit a high, but it ain't backing off here. So I'd be more apt to go with the flow on this one. If you're like trying to pick it up on the cheap as a being a Momo guy, this $28 level is going to be huge support. 27.93 was your high yesterday. 28 even was your high on Friday. So, maybe get lucky, stick a bid out there at 28.10 or something like that, because once it hits 29 or 28, could just do a real quick turnaround.
Looks like we got another mover here. J.C. Penney, maybe news hitting the wire that somebody bought a T-shirt. Shares are up about 1.66% this morning is what I'm seeing. So a little bit of a rally. No real news on the wire yet. Just kind of keeping an eye on J.C. Penney. Obviously, this one trades all over the place and is definitely one of those names that traders love to kick around. What do you think of the embattled retailer on today's chart, Joel?
Kind of looking. Well, the $8 level held yesterday. Probably had some institutional bids. 804, 808 were the highs from Friday and Monday. Opened up, had a nice rally. Still looking at that whole 830 level. I talked about that as the mid retracement from the 624 low up to the 1030 high. 830 put you right at that level. Did cut through it a little bit on Friday and Monday, but we got back above that level. So I'd like to see it just nestle here at 830 for a day or two, consolidate, and I think we might get another move up to maybe like the $12 level. You had a $4 move. I don't know.
Maybe.
I guess I'm the only one on the street that thinks that. So I better buy the 8 puts. But also, I just want our traders to be aware that Friday's high was 863. We've hit 864 in the pre-market. So you do have some resistance right above where we're trading.
All right, another one we've got. We did have some earnings, or Ares, not even earnings. It's Ares Capital Corporation, Alpha Romeo Charlie, down over 3.5%. I haven't seen any specific news hit the wires. I'm gonna check this one again. That's Alpha Romeo Charlie. Company looks like they are going to be offering 14.3 million shares, and that looks to be sending the stock down. They're down about 3.5% is what I'm seeing, below $18. Joel, any thoughts on this chart?
The dentist rule of thumb is go with that offering price. I don't know if that's popped up on the wires yet, but kind of use that as a magnet. So whatever that is, it seemed to have found some support here at the 1752 level, getting a bounce up to 1770. I just would take a stab in the dark and maybe see the offering price is 1760. But decent volume trading here, almost 400,000 shares in the last bracket. So just have to wait to see what that price is. Probably not a bad. It's a closed-end fund here, so not really sure. What all the fundamentals that are behind that.
It looks. I'm trying to. They have the press release coming out for the pricing, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what they did end up pricing it at. They're saying that they did price it, but I'm trying to find the exact number. I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Another one we've got moving this morning is Twitter. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a pullback from yesterday's rally. Company announced a new contract this morning with Pitney Bowes, but looks like traders are kind of ignoring that one and going after, trying to maybe sell off some of that rally yesterday. When you're in it for, it was almost 10% yesterday. It moved yesterday, so maybe traders looking to capture a little profit there.
This one is kind of not acting Facebook like at all. It had the $45 level. I think what's interesting about this, and I'm looking at this, I was not following this at all yesterday, but we'd really been talking about that 45 level because that's where the stock opened. And I think when we were on with Hubert Centers, he was focusing on the IPO price and a derivation of that. Well, it didn't get any way down to the lower levels that he was talking about. I guess you just have to look at this whole $50 area. You have the all-time high in the issue on the first day of trading, just over 50. I believe it was 50.09 I saw one place, or 50.09. Got to 49.84 yesterday. So your short-term players just using that $50 level, you get a close over 50. You probably can consider it a breakout. Pretty big volume yesterday's too, so people were following the news there. But I sure like to see a follow through the $50 level. Get a close above 50 to confirm another leg up in Twitter.
Another one I'm looking at this morning is Newmont Mining Corporation, ticker November Echo Mike. Shares are up about 2.3%. Just been kind of keeping an eye on this one this morning. Traders kind of bidding it up. Just seeing some strength in the pre-market here. Any thoughts on this one, Joel?
Gold rally. Yep.
That'll do it. I mean, those miners, they tear into that. Joel, what do you think about gold? I mean, gold's been such a mess this last 8 months. I mean, it seems like traders want to keep it between $1,200 and $1,300, and they don't really want to take it outside of that range. Any thoughts on gold right now? I know that's one of the ones you like to take a look at.
Oh, but if I bring up it here, I locked up my computer last time here, so hopefully it won't do it this time. Gold is, I really hope we can get the daily chart here. If it locks up my computer, you're going to be fired, Jake. No, here's the thing with gold, and what it does is it has a big move. You look at the big down day here, and then it just gives you a couple days of wiggle, a couple days of consolidation. And then it either reverses like it did here, it busted out of that range, or it makes another leg on. So I'd like to see this. I mean, it's hard to buy it up here, up $28 on the day, but Dennis would say that's when you should buy something, when it's up. I'm looking. I just don't see the big driver yet. There's no fear. There's nothing. A lot of this could be technical trading, fun trading. Not. Speaking of funds, we had a question here from the Brentster, on NUGT, and that's basically, a loaded ETF. It's a leveraged ETF to the upside, so you're going to get, when the gold moves, you're going to get exaggerated moves in this issue. Probably not a great instrument to hold long term, but if you want to trade a little Momo, this is the one of the high powered ETFs to trade. Did hit 30.20 in the pre-market. Hasn't been above the $30 level. Oh boy, since December 2nd, that day it had a 30.94 high. So I'll just be keeping an eye on the pre-market high. If it can go through the pre-market high at 30.20. Not a lot of resistance up to that almost a $31 level, but just keep an eye on the bullion, and that's the way that the Nugget's going to go.
Fair enough. Another one we want to take a look at this morning is Lululemon. Lima Uniform Company did name a new CEO this morning. Laurent Pontavin, I think is how you'd pronounce that. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Coming from Jake Liqueur, it's probably right. Francais.
Well, shares are up 2.35%. Is what I'm seeing right now. Right around that $72 level. Shareholders are probably kind of eyeing that one. Joel, what do you think of Lululemon here? I mean, it's another one of those kind of momentum stocks. It's been hit with all these PR disasters, yet no one seems to care. They're still making a ton of money. Now they've gotten their CEO issues, straightened out. Any thoughts here?
Weren't we having a discussion on this on the news desk? And we were talking that they were going to try and get more males, appeal to more.
Yeah, it was. Well, CNBC actually brought it up yesterday, and we started tossing it around. That they're saying it was between Under Armour and Lululemon, which one would be able to succeed. More than the other one. Under Armour has to try and find a way to get women onto its brand, while Lululemon has to find a way to get men onto its brand. And I thought it'd be much tougher to get a man into a Lululemon store. I mean, I don't know what man's be walking around in yoga pants, but
Well,
hey, maybe that's just
actually,
me.
Joe did come in this morning with his black Lululemon pants, so maybe that's maybe that's a sign that they are appealing more to the male sector there. Joe's making it. Oh, I might get in trouble here. He's gonna throw something at me. Let's look at it from a
Yeah, move on, Joel.
72.50 we've hit in the pre-market. We pulled back to the 71.75 level. This stock really got hit. I believe this is all on the CO news when that young lady was resigning. I'm looking at this $72 level. Lululemon did trade over 72. When was that? Let me go to my chart here. 72.22 was your high on the second. You hit 72.50 in the pre-market. So I'll look for that area at potential resistance. Above that, it opens up to the $73 level, and then you do have major resistance at a double top at 73.40 and 73.45 back at the end of October.
Another we've got moving this morning is Ariad Pharmaceuticals, Alpha Romeo India Alpha. This one has just been absolutely pummeled in the last couple of months. It was above $20 back in late September, early October. Now we're down to, what was that low that we had, about $2?
Oh, yeah.
It was,
that
real way down there. 220 is what I'm seeing. I mean, that's a real rough chart, though. We are seeing quite a rally this morning, though. It's up 11.2% almost. Stifel Nicholas upgraded the company to a buy rating. Looks like they decided, shares are so cheap that, it's maybe a good risk reward. I haven't dove into the report yet, so I'm not entirely sure what the grounds of the upgrade were. But regardless of the grounds, it's traded almost 900,000 shares in the pre-market here, and it's rallied over 10%, or I guess now just under 11%. What are you thinking on this one? Obviously, a pharma play, very totally insane. Will be very subject to news, but when you don't have news, all you've got is technicals.
Pre-market high 484, and this one's kind of tough because you did have a 485 and a 492 high on the 4th and the 5th, so that is an area of resistance. The only reason there's a lot of volume trading in this, so this one, to me has some legs to take out that 485 to 492 level, and then above that you get above $5. 532 was your high in the second, but it did manage to settle over since it's had this just debacle falling off the $18 level. You've only had one close over 5 here, so I think that's the key level here to keep an eye out. To get a close over 5, opening right up at the pre-market high 478. So we'll see what it does at this 485 to 492 level.
Well, Joel, with that, I will let you take it away for the market open. Just did hear that bell, so I'm going to let you take over for the market open and hand this over to you and Brent.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look. S&P 500 futures, we are opening beneath support. We had a low yesterday at 1804.75. That coincided with Friday's close at 1805. All-time high close at 1809. So if we do get a pop, you want to short into a little bit of strength here. Perhaps wait for the 1809 level. Taking a look at some of the other issues, let's take a look at GM. That probably had the most pre-market trading, and we've got to keep an eye on that 40.11 low. You had a low at 40.31 yesterday, so I'm calling 40.20 here major support. If it holds that 40.20 level, then this is good news with Mary Barra, and the stock will continue higher. Below 40.20 here, I think we could slip under the $40 level. Taking a look at Toll Brothers, that seller at 35 has lowered his targets, got over 35 in the pre-market. Not the same during the regular session here. We've only got a high of 34.53, so expectations a little bit overdone in the pre-market. Still use that $35 level as major resistance if in fact you do get a turnaround in the issue. Just following through on the Cisco news here from yesterday. We've already cut through yesterday's low here, so I think there's a chat. Yeah, it's just sell the news kind of thing. I'm waiting for this thing to get back to 32.41, fill the gap, or 34.31. $2 away to fill the gap. I think you'll have some shorts. More than happy to see that stock back under $35. S&Ps getting a little bit of a bounce here. Have not taken out the pre-market low. Our pre-market low was 0250. We only got the 0350 here in the regular session. Trying to mount a little bit of a rally. Apple opens up at its 463.58, meets a 64.60 high, coming down a little bit. I think you longer term players, you want to be keeping an eye on that 560 level. We've had a couple lows in that area from Friday and Monday, so Apple good to go north unless you can't hold that 560 level. Taking a look at Twitter here, lower open, but sneaking back into the 49 handle. Let's keep an eye. I mean, that 50 is a huge number, 50.09, the all-time high. Got up yesterday to 49.84. I just, for some reason, I just think that level is going to be defended a little bit today ahead of it.
Twitter shares are up 20% in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 20+% in 5 or 6 sessions.
What do you think?
Quite the rally.
Yeah, time to take some profits on that, or not? I mean, $50. It gets over that, takes out that 50.09. It's a breakout, but certainly didn't get anywhere near the the initial IPO range, 26 to 30, I believe, or 26, 27, where a lot of people got a stock. So if you're holding on to that thing, good for you. We did get a pop up here. We went up to 49.60. So we'll see what happens at this 49.84 level. That was a high from yesterday's trading. Kind of going with the SPOOs here. 50.09, the all-time high in the issue.
49.74. It's approaching that 49.84 level fast. 49.80. There it is, actually.
Yep.
Oh, there's a new high. 49.87.
80. Yep. It hit 89. We're peeling back. We'll see what happens between that and the 50.09 all-time high. Can't keep the S&Ps down here. Rallying $2 off the intraday low, $3 off the low that we made. Just kind of drifted down. $1,800 level being defended. We'll take a look. All-time high close is 09 even. That was from yesterday. That's your first resistance point. The S&Ps also to reach mid-range on the day, 07 even. So there's a couple levels to keep an eye on. Google back under 1080 here. Pretty much opened at the low though, 1076.15. Got a little pop up. So if you bought the open on that, you sure don't want to see it go through that 1075.65 level. If there are any questions, any issues you're trading in the OptionsHouse chat room, Joanne or Jetstream, let us know what's on your radar. We'll try and throw out an opinion or two there, right, wrong, or indifferent. Cisco down a buck here, so Cisco profit taking continuing here in that issue after that ridiculous move yesterday. Taking a look at some other issues here of interest. GE holding in there at unchanged. Cut through the size at the $27 level yesterday. Let's take a look at that stock. 27.33 was a big number in that issue. I believe it hit 27.33 yesterday. And then if you go back a little bit longer term, oh my gosh!
Whoa.
Look at Twitter.
Whoa.
You look at Twitter.
Wow, 50.93 high, I see. Is that right? 50.92?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. New all-time high there,
There it is.
for shares of Twitter.
What's that up now? Almost 4? 4%?
Yeah.
Almost $2?
I don't talk percents. I talk
So
points.
that's why I immediately said the dollar sign.
Okay, Joe's asking about ZU
Ooh,
here.
Zulily.
What is going on? I
This
don't
is
even-
you might not have heard of it. It's a recent IPO. I think they IPO'd, I don't know, I want to say a month and a half ago, maybe.
All
What's that
right,
chart say?
I know Dennis doesn't like when I ask, but do you know what they do? Do they
Are they a? I was gonna say I think they're a retailer, but it looks like they're an e-commerce, internet
yeah.
and mail order discount stores.
Uh
Zulily.
yeah, wow. Opened up at 35.54 and just took off from that level. Dennis is pointing out the financials are flying here. I hope he's not on the short side here. But when you come up to the financials here, and I wanted to bring this up on the show, I will get to the Morgan and the Goldman in a second here. Major formation here in shares of Wells Fargo. You had a 44.48 high yesterday. That coincides with three other tops that you had at the end of November. So that 44.50 level, monster resistance here for Wells Fargo. If you break above that, you're giving me heading up to 44.74. Let's look at the Goldman here. Just off the top of my head. Oh my lord, look at that. Goldman Sachs finding gold here in today's market. We did have the double top. They took that out yesterday. 168 was the resistance level. Took out yesterday's high, 169.13. Dennis, has that stock really moved $5 today? Wow. What an incredible move. Opened up a quarter from its low, rallied straight up. Maybe someone got caught short here or something off the open. The recent high of the move for Goldman Sachs has been 171.58. So we did take out that resistance level. We are now back below it here. 171.58 was that former high. Dennis is getting some crazy action here in shares of Morgan Stanley too. Morgan Stanley doesn't do that. Look at that. Look at that intraday move here. Approaching the $31 level. Let's take a look at that stock, see if we can find. We did pop over 31, got to 31.05 here. Back under 31. That stock hasn't quite hit the resistance point that one may be looking at. 31.29 was a high on the 4th, also a 31.43 high. But now the fact that you just broke above. Is this right? I'm looking at the
What?
volume here.
What, and Morgan Stanley?
Yeah.
Let me pull it up on my watch list real quick. What do you see? I see a mil, almost 2 mil, 1.7.
Okay, okay, and yeah, okay. Oh, I was just got a wrong decimal point there. I was just
Gotcha.
really low volume yesterday, so it's popping up here. So we'll see if the $31 level, 31.05 is the high, straight up move from the open. So we'll have to see what's going on in those financials. 44.44 holding up as a high in Wells Fargo. Going over to ExxonMobil, did make a new all-time high yesterday. I believe it got to 96.25, but someone's back at the point at 96. We hit a 95, 97 high, so I'm not sure if Dennis can identify a big seller back there. Google popping with the market here. Let's go to Google. Opened up, added slow. Let's take a look. I believe the all-time high in Google is 10. New all-time high. It hit 1082.31 yesterday. We took 282.67 in today's trading. So potential double top here in the Googster. S&P's repelling off the 1806 level. We are now back trading below Monday's low at 1804.25. Let's take a look at some of these miners because I remember an old trick, back when I was trading at Oldie here, when you were, watching some of these gold stocks. A lot of times, when gold opened up, you could still get a buy on the metals here and make a little bit of scratch out of them. That was the case here in Newmont. 24.27 open, 24.21 low, trading right near the high of the day, 24.51. But for traders of Newmont Mining, we must alert you to the 24.60 high that you had back on December 2nd. So Newmont approaching some resistance here. If you're playing it as a day trade and it goes back down through that opening print low 24.21, you might want to design some kind of exit strategy. And I always talk about Newmont, but Dennis always talks about ABX here. Did get some favorable ink in Barron's over the weekend. Is one of the 10 best stocks to buy, and so far for 2014, they are right on with this one. That stock also gapped up, opened at its low, got a little sprint to 1687. Not a lot of resistance at that level. I'm more concentrating on the double top at 1712, 1718. Once again, if you do come back through that opening range print at 1651, you do have a gap to fill down to 1616.
I'm watching the GLD ETF up 1.9%. Gold itself, COMEX gold up about 2.4%. That's about $30. But then that gold miner ETF GDX, that thing is really outperforming this morning, up almost 3.5% right here.
Yeah, nice move in the gold. We'll
Right.
see if it can get some follow through here. Wells Fargo back negative here, down 7 cents on the day. Rejected again there at the 44.50 level. Twitter on a tear, 51.67 high. So you breakout Momo traders here. If you caught that one, you already got a monster move here, 3-point move off the open. So huge move for Twitter so far in the session.
It did just come back down to that 51 level, and now it's kind of bouncing off 51.35. I see last trade. So maybe that 51's gonna hold. I don't know.
So we got Brent here identifying some short-term support here.
Yeah.
And let's see here. So what you're saying? So if you were, boy, it's hard to look off that. It's still in the first 15
Yeah,
minutes.
right.
Yeah, I'd have to. I don't like to go to any smaller time frame than 15 minutes. I just like
Gotcha.
to get that. A lot of people do though, but. Brent's identifying potential support at 51.
Oh, there goes my support. Oh, hey, that's back. Sweet.
That's the way they trade
Right,
these
right.
days. Boy, Toll Brothers. Boy, for the toll is the sellers are taking their toll on this thing. Traded over 35 in the pre-market. Traded 34.47 off the open. 34.69, and now working its way back perhaps to unchanged. Let's see how those other housing stocks are digesting the news here. Hovanian Enterprises. That's a low price stock here. Let's take a look. What's the other one? It's a little bit of a mover. The B's
BZH.
Oh, BZH. I was gonna go BZR.
I believe it used to be BZR actually.
Yeah, they changed it.
They changed it.
Yeah.
Switched it up on you. They didn't want you remembering.
It's amazing how many symbols you can remember here. Now.
I know.
So BZH here. Let's take a look at that issue. Just trading up slightly in the day, so it doesn't seem to be affected too much by the Toll Brothers sell-off. You did make a 21.27 high in that issue, and 21.17 was the high in the 29th. So back above the $21 level, you'd be finding some resistance.
This was the first home builder to report. We will be getting Hovnadian on the 12th. That's going to be Thursday. We're also going to be getting Lennar on the 18th and KB Homes on the 20th.
See how those home builders are doing, but we got to go back. The big story of the day. The big,
GM?
Yeah, the big story of the day. GM hiring Mary Barra. The hiring was endorsed by our Fernando Prieto, our CTO here, saying he liked her. Didn't get to the pre-market low at 40.11. Didn't even get to yesterday's lay at 40.31. Now we're knocking on the door at the $41 level. So good call by Fernando. Maybe he should be doing the show. And then moving up, we're going to keep an eye on 41.17. That's the all-time high for the issue. But Brent, we're going to wrap things up here. Do you got any tidbits for tomorrow? Anything to look for before we let our traders go on and finish their trading?
I'm really going to be watching this GM. Actually, this is kind of a nice little story we got unfolding here. I feel like.
Okay. All right, folks. Have a good trading day, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.